What I really want to focus on today is how I let my own path guide me to a place of finding something that I was really passionate about in life. And as I look back on my little journey that got me this far, I start to realize pretty quick that I didn't take the most conventional approach to it. You know, it was hard for me to find motivation to move forward with things if I wasn't passionate about it. So when it came to schooling, it was either like I got an F or I got an A. You know, something that I wasn't so passionate about or something I was really passionate about. Personally, I did a lot of my exploring outside of school. I found music, I played the piano, I studied the violin. I was actually part of a junior symphony back in my hometown, up until the point where I realized that I would much rather spend my kids than at home practicing. Found sports, baseball, basketball, soccer, you name it, I played it. I would engulf myself in skateboarding completely. And I guess you could say that may have been my first true love. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, I mean, eat, breathe, slept it. That's all I cared about. Everything else was background noise. And then I got injured pretty good. When I was away from skateboarding, I found my next love, art. And when I found art, I kind of never looked back. Started with graffiti, which I must say got me in a good bit of trouble. And it would evolve into tattooing and would eventually evolve into much more. You know, it seems as though everybody's got an idea of what a meaningful life is to them. You know, how many times have you heard someone tell you, you know, they know what's best for you and this is the life you should be living? And I'm not one to say, you know, one way is better than the next, but what I will say, what I feel is really important, is to find out what a meaningful life is to you, to me. And the only way to genuinely do that is to explore. You know, kind of approaching each new moment, each new experience, each new obstacle as your own man, your own woman, working through those moments, learning, growing along the way. And when you're in those spaces where you're kind of, you know, figuring things out, you're not worried about what this person thinks about what you're doing, or, you know, how this person feels about it, or how society feels about it. You know, it's okay to be different. It's okay to be an individual. And society maybe is one of the ones that kind of gives us the most pressure in that department. You know, it's almost like society wants you to fit into a mold, you know, offer you these paths that you're supposed to take. And it's our jobs to poke holes in it, especially as creatives. So I know when I talk about, you know, jumping from one thing to the next, it may sound like it was easy for me, but, you know, it definitely wasn't. When I realized I wasn't going to be the next Michael Jordan, it was a tough pill to swallow. And when I got injured from skateboarding, my whole world came crashing down. You know, I didn't know what I was going to do next. And I think what I'm trying to touch up on here is something that I think we all know to be true, is that it seems as though when we move on to that next thing, it gets a little bit harder and a little bit harder to do so. And maybe it's because we're kind of holding on to these frustrations and these feelings that we felt before when we had these high hopes for this thing and it, you know, didn't work out the way we hoped it would. Maybe we're vulnerable to that thing and let down, and, you know, it sucks. I get it. I've definitely been there before, many times. And for me, when I was in those places and it came time to choosing what to do next, I always chose to keep moving forward, keep exploring. And with each new world I explored, I started to learn more about myself, more about what I was capable of, you know, my strengths, my weaknesses. And to be honest, you know, over the course of my life, and, you know, I get it, I'm still a puppy, but that's one of the things I'm most proud of, is that I never waited for the stars to align. I got on that road. I let it take me to where it was supposed to. And, even if it didn't work out the way I'd hoped, I kept moving forward. So I built my first tattoo machine. I used the motor from a Walkman radio. I chiseled down a guitar string, rigged this thing up. I'm maybe about 15, 16 here, tattooing one of my friends in either my parents' garage or maybe it was like a Motel 6. It could have easily been either one at this point. And for the next 3 or so years, I started to roam the neighborhoods and tattoo anybody and everybody I could find. And I was having a blast doing it. But could you imagine what my parents were thinking? Or maybe society was thinking, right? I never let those pressures get in the way of me finding my own truth. I knew how I felt about what I was doing, and it was 100% sincere. And I always wanted to find my own way in life. I didn't want to live somebody else's life. I wanted to live my own. So this went on for a little bit, and at about 18 or so, I met a man named Angel, who was kind of like a second father to me now. And he gave me my first real shot at working at a tattoo shop. And this was almost my first real shot at being maybe legitimate and not this young knucklehead kid tattooing your son or your daughter at your house when you're at work kind of thing. And it felt like it was my first real shot. And those were exciting times for me. And that went on for a little while until I reached somewhat of a different roadblock. But it wasn't like before. It wasn't that I wasn't passionate about what I was doing. It was more so I kind of had these questions start to creep up in my head and kind of took the shape of, are you reaching your full potential? I'm the sole surviving son of my whole family name. My family actually survived the Holocaust. My pops was born in a camp in Austria, and 9 years after they fled their village in Poland, they made it through Ellis Island and into America, hopes for a better life for themselves and the family. And I used to think a lot about what that meant, what others had to endure so that I could have the life and the opportunities I have now. I still think a lot about that now. And so I'm kind of chewing on these things in my head, right? Am I reaching my full potential? Am I taking advantage of the opportunities that are in front of me? Things are pretty good right now. I'm comfortable. Is that a good thing? Is that comfort a bad thing? And I decided to do the unthinkable. My parents couldn't believe it. Young Jewish kid who barely made it out of high school. Can you guess what I went and did? I would study the Torah and become a rabbi. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. Close. I would go back to school and study. But this time, I would take classes that I was interested in. I took an art class, which was actually my first art class. A philosophy class where I met Socrates for the first time. And kind of this life-changing moment experience, I was blessed with this unquenchable thirst to learn and grow and be my best self, and it felt amazing. So I told myself, okay, if you're gonna do this, do it at the highest level. And I started to search the world for this art and design school that I was gonna go to, and it did not matter where it was. If it was the right one, I was gonna go. I was looking in Russia at the Repin Academy, the Florence Academy in Italy, the East Coast. And then I found a place called Art Center. So I got in my car. It's about an 8-hour drive from Northern California. And I come visit Hogwarts. Art Center. I toured the campus, and I just knew it was the right place for me. I was so excited. I got back home, I put together my portfolio, I shipped it out, and I waited. And I got the acceptance letter in the mail. And it was kind of like, oh shit, I guess I gotta go through with this now, right? I got in my car and I left. Now maybe this is one of those things that sounds a little bit easier than it was, right? Like, just get in your car and go. Sounds pretty easy, right? But it most definitely wasn't. I was getting ready to leave my hometown, which actually got tattooed across my stomach when I was 18 because I never thought I was gonna leave this place. You know, my friends, my family, everything I had known in my young puppy life was there. The tattoo shop, my extended tattoo family, where I had some of the best times of my life there. And here I am, I'm getting ready to leave all this for something that's not guaranteed. You know, I don't know how this is gonna work out. So I was telling myself, you know, if I don't do this, maybe I won't reach my full potential. Maybe I'm not taking advantage of these opportunities in front of me. And the maybe was enough. And maybe I'll fail too, right? And that's okay. And what I've learned is that failure is one of these words we give way too much respect to. You know, we kind of, I don't know if it's in our nature to sometimes feel sorry for ourselves or, you know, make sense out of these moments of disappointment and frustration as these life-ending times. But were they ever that? Of course not. You know, it's really about a matter of perspective on how we tend to look at these moments, you know? And instead of looking at them as an ending point, why not a beginning, something to build on, which is what life is. You continue to grow and build along the way, right? It can be a memory, an experience, a lesson. Again, however we choose to shape it, we're all capable of that. So I'm in my car, I'm heading towards this foreign place, and some of the logistical things that I probably should have thought about a little bit more before I left are starting to trickle in. Kind of like, where am I gonna work, where am I gonna live? And I'm starting to get a little bit emotional, and I'm not gonna lie, I was crying a little bit. I was debating not putting that in to maybe salvage some of the street cred I have left, but fuck it. It's true. And once I got that out of my system, what followed was one of the biggest smiles I think I can ever remember. Because I was proud of myself that I'd found the courage to take this leap in life, and I was on this new chapter in life. And even though life was good back home, even though I was going into a direction where maybe it wasn't gonna work out how I'd hoped, you know, that's okay. And I knew I had made the right decision because I was working through these obstacles and not shying away from them. And I also learned, you know, I almost think the harder the decision, it's like when we know it's an important decision, right? And to be honest, I think the times when things didn't work out the way I had hoped are the times that I'd learned the most. And when things did work out the way I had hoped, maybe I didn't learn so much. So again, these are moments that aren't that bad of a thing. So I get down to LA and I guess it's time to figure it out, right? Again, no place to live, no place to work. And I decided to go see a man named Jose Lopez, which if you know anything about black and gray tattooing, he's kind of like the Michael Jordan of this thing. So I pop in one night, I'd never met him before. It's about 11, he's tattooing. And we end up talking till about 3, 4 in the morning. And at the end of that conversation, he asked me if I would like to come work with him. And in my head, I'm kind of going crazy, like, whoa, this is dream come true type stuff. So I start school. About a week later, I'm working alongside one of my heroes. And things seem to be going pretty good. But what I learned too is when good things happen in life, you know, you're gonna have to earn them. And in this situation, it was gonna require a lot of work. You know, Art Center's got this reputation for being somewhat of a difficult school. And yeah, you guys know. And I think a more accurate description of this place is almost like it's like a Navy SEAL boot camp sort of training with a little sprinkle of art and design teaching somewhere in there. And I'm dedicating about 80 hours a week to school alone. And on the side, I'm tattooing maybe 50 hours a week on top of that with Jose. doesn't leave a lot of room for sleep. And I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed. I'm kind of starting to question myself a little bit, like, are you gonna be able to do this thing? And in somewhat of a moment of weakness one night, I decided to call my pops. He's in the audience today probably with a big smile on his face because he loves to tell this story. And I kind of share with him a little bit about, what I'm thinking about. I'm questioning if I can do this, thinking about maybe giving up. You know what he tells me? He goes, son, if you're looking for sympathy, it's somewhere in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. And if I were to translate that for you guys, I think what he meant by that was, we're here for you unconditionally. Everything's gonna be okay, we love you. Right, Pop? Something like that? But what I also realize is that when I'm in these moments, when I'm maybe doubting myself or, I'm put in a hard position, I'm not calling people that are gonna agree with me, that are gonna kind of feed into the way I'm feeling. I'm calling people and reaching out to people that are gonna challenge me, challenge my way of thinking, help shape my perspective. And, maybe not in that example is the best one, but Pops has always been that for me. So needless to say, I get back to work. I'm tattooing with Jose. I'm learning and growing so much. I'm building my tattoo career simultaneously with my studies at Art Center. And at Art Center, I'm expanding my mind in ways I couldn't believe. I'm learning about art, design, painting. On my breaks from school, we're going to Europe, London, Italy, all over, and we're kind of conducting these pop-up studio campaigns with Jose. And I've never worked so hard in my life, and I was having an absolute blast. And this goes on for a little while longer, until it was about maybe my last year at Art Center. And these thoughts kind of start to trickle in a little bit more. And I'm kind of asking myself, or telling myself, like, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. What's going on? And then I'm having this conversation in my head, right? And I'm going, why are you thinking like that? I mean, you've never worked so hard in your life. How is this not enough? And what I soon realized was that I was starting to have all these ideas of my own, these new ideas of how I wanted to grow and shape my work and my tattoos, how I wanted to contribute to the craft of tattooing and try and help it evolve and grow and elevate. And I started to realize that I needed my own space for these ideas to cultivate. It's time to do my own thing. So I searched all over LA for this space where I was gonna build, my new studio. And just when I thought I wasn't gonna find it, I walked into what some may think of as, like a raw, empty garage, but to me it was the blank canvas that I was gonna paint my new dream studio there. I put together a team, and we got to work, and we would build house studios. And the thing that I really want to hit home today is that the same way I'm approaching these new ideas I'm having is the same way I've been approaching this whole journey this far. Is when I'm exploring these ideas, I'm not worried if they're not gonna work out the way I hope, because that's okay, we learn that. I'm gonna learn from that, continue to move forward, and eventually it's gonna take my art to a place that it's supposed to be. I hope these words today will maybe help inspire some of you to find out and continue to shape what a meaningful life means to you. I know you all have so many amazing ideas to share with the world, and I say this with the utmost sincerity. I cannot wait to see you all bring those ideas and make them a reality. Thank you.